Good morning, everybody. So today it's going to be about the trauma bond. I had a subscriber ask if I could go over the cycle. And the cycle starts with the trauma bond. So let's start. The trauma bond, typically what happens is you will run into a narcissist somewhere, the one that ends up becoming a love partner. And what will happen is they will then begin to target you. They will try to find ways to see you again and again until they can get a date with you. But leading up into that, they're going to do research on you and find out anything they can online. If you have a home, if you own a home, where you live, anything they could find about you. Then when you do have your first date, they're going to know kind of how to prepare for it. They have to set the mask up, and they tailor fit it for you so they can allure you in. And so when you meet them for your first date, the first thing that will probably happen, what happened to me, but I didn't pay attention to it. I had, in hindsight, realized this, but my intuition was telling me I was with an empty, soulless individual. Like, just, it was like I had a very uneasy feeling when I think back to it, because she was completely soulless. And that's the feeling my intuition gave me. And I let it go, because what happens, you don't really trust your intuition when you're unawoke, because you're really taught not to. You're taught to do as you're told, and you're taught to do as I say. Don't think, just do it. There's no real conversation in a narcissistic home that's very deep, and people are emotionally checked out. If you are the empath, if you're the black sheep, if you're the scapegoat, you're going to be used for supply. So you're going to be taught to react. You're not going to hone your intuition, but that's what my intuition was telling me. And your intuition won't always tell you when somebody is a good individual and you get along great with them and they don't mean you any harm. But when somebody does mean you harm is when it should show itself. It'll be nostalgic because you grew up in this type of energy. And if you've been away from it for a while, when you go back to it, meaning through somebody else, and they're carrying the same spiritual gene, then you're going to, in a weird way, feel kind of comfortable with it, be kind of attracted to it in a weird sense when you're still unawoke, because you're still spellbound. Just because you've been away from maybe your narcissist family or whatever for a long time, if you didn't wake up, you're still susceptible to the spell. You haven't healed anything. You haven't changed anything. You're kind of like a sleeper. But what happens, you go on your first date, and what you'll find is your intuition's popping all over the place, probably, but especially if you had more than one of these in your life. But what you're going to see is that you're going to have butterflies, and butterflies doesn't mean you're in love with somebody or you're with the right person. That means you're in the presence of a narcissist, and you're getting red flags thrown at you from your intuition, but you're getting love bombed from the narcissist. So I call it the feel-good red flag, because it makes it flutter. It's like a fluttering red flag. But the world tells you that that means you're in love, or you're with the right individual, your future lover. And that's not true at all, because the world always lies to you. So that's what you'll start feeling. And you notice that there's intrigue there, because they don't walk around like everybody else, or at least like the people that you know. And if you came out of investment, you don't really look at your family members quite the same as you do this individual, because it's a different kind of energy, because it's love partner energy, and it's not from the investment. But what happens is you'll be getting love bombed. Of course, it's going to be just words, because that's all they can give you. But most of them are going to be, I'm talking more about the covert types, because those are the ones I've dealt with, and those are the ones that can hide this kind of stuff heavy. And so most coverts are going to be kind of on the antisocial level. They're not going to be very talkative until they get comfortable with the control of the people around them. So when you're just meeting this individual, it's going to be hard to get anything out of them. Well, it's hard to get anything out of a narcissist anyway, but especially on like a first date or something, you're going to be doing most of the talking. You're going to get small answers, but they're going to give you the appeal that they really like you, and that they're just a little like bashful or something. With that, You're going to ask them a lot of simple questions just to gain a little background or some sort of information, but you're going to get almost nothing. Where it's going to be, when you get any information from a narcissist, it's little particles and pieces, and you can't, in a linear way, put them together to form a history of any kind. And that's because when you're with a manipulator who wears a mask every day, there is no linear history. All they did was lie their whole life and fake their whole life. So there is no history. The history would be just the lies. Does that make sense? But then you're just going to get just scattered information of past, present, and future. And that'll be your typical maybe first date, real date. And they may tell you things like their ex did them wrong, that sort of thing. But then on the next few dates coming up, they're gonna tell you more about their ex and how their ex treated them wrong. This is the part where they start to seem vulnerable and like an empath. They're going to talk a lot about how their ex did them wrong, and probably more than one. They'll probably say two, at least, that did them wrong. And you get the impression that they've been done wrong their whole life. But they're an innocent individual and they're good people. That they're good people, and really in the end, you know they're not. But you'll notice that they're going to say weird things. Weird things like, I don't cheat. Mine would tell me, I don't cheat. I didn't even ask her that. I mean, why would you? They say it like so mechanical because they're robotic. When you don't have love, you're like artificial intelligence, really. Then they'll start to data mine you. They'll have quick sex with you because they want to get this going on, because they got to get you trauma bonded. If you're the primary source supply, or the future primary source supply, and they're going to be really into you. I mean, they're going to be on the phone all the time, texting, calling the first couple month and a half, 2 months. They're going to want to see you a lot, but they're going to see you, and it's going to be kind of like the timing of everything with them is going to be kind of off. And they're going to tell you that the greatest thing they can give you is their time, because they're very busy. And that's because they have more than one partner. So that's one of the weird things you'll hear. You'll also hear something like, I stay friends with all of my exes. You'll hear that. They'll data mine you. They'll ask you like 2 hours worth of questions. And if you keep answering them, they'll ask you back-to-back questions, almost like a robot would. It's really weird. And of course, they mirror back to you these great things about yourself. I mean, they fit every mold that you want, and they are in complete agreement. And then after all this is going on, there's going to be a lot of weird things. Like if you're kind of like financially set up, they may say something like, I'm glad I'm with you because look at all this that you gave me, that you're giving me. And they'll look around your house or something, and you'll be like thinking, okay, that's a weird way of putting things. And you might just shrug it off. But when they meet you and get in a partnership with you, right away, they believe they own you and everything that you own. They got to move quick because the mask is going to slip. And typically, a narcissist, when they meet an unawoke primary source potential, they will try to marry them in 3 months or less. That's because the mask is going to slip, and by then, they will have you locked down. Mine would also tell me that she wanted to have a baby with me right away so that she can lock me down. She actually said those words. They will talk to you sometimes in these weird, calm sounds, or low-pitched voices, almost like spelling in a comfortable way. It's really eerie. You may wake up and they'll be staring at a hole through you, and you'll find that they were watching you when you were sleeping. You'll start to get them stalking sometimes, just to keep an eye on you, because they can scan you like an x-ray. You may catch them in the house from around the corner if you were away from them. They can't be by themselves, but you may catch a glimpse of them staring like this dead assassin stare. It's not them. It's not humanity. It's really creepy. They will have sex with you quick. They will then tell you this situation to where they'll tell you that they feel bad, and maybe you had plans to go out and you can't go out because she feels bad or something. So if you console her, this is them doing an empathy check on you to see how you would handle this situation. Because if they want to marry you, then they got to make sure that you're the right type that they're looking for. Typically it's PHIL, the acronym. So it's a protector, a helper, someone with integrity and somebody that truly loves them. Mine would tell me she liked my passion. So they'll tell you these things. They'll come over at weird times. They won't be able to come over at times when you think they should. They may come over quicker because if there's somebody, one of their forms of supply is close to your location of your house, like say within 20 minutes and they live 40 minutes away, it's like they'll call you and then show up like early. And you're like, that's weird because if you call me and tell me you're coming over, it should have took longer if you were calling me from when you left the house. So these are some weird oddball things. What they do is they get you so confused that you end up being upside down, and then you can get your fuel just completely drained from you. They'll start out making these rules where mine would tell me when I pulled a Diet Coke out of the fridge that, you know, me and my son, we don't have any soda at the house. We just have water at the house, and we only drink soda when we're away from the house. I felt stress in my shoulders, and I felt like it was something that she was serious about. So in order to, of course, people please, I turned around and said, well, if that's the case, I could do that for you. So you'll start to get rules like this going on in the house, and then you may disagree with them at some point, and then what'll happen is they will rage. And once they rage, then, or they may get rageful, not full-on rage because they're still kind of trying to love bomb you. If you do something that offends them, they'll let it go during love bomb phase because they have to, because they're trying to nail you down. And then they'll make you pay for it later. But you'll somehow slight them, you don't even know what you did, but they'll like halfway rage out on you. That's to teach you. And if you had this stuff in your history, then you already are going to fall trapped to that anxiety and that kind of paranoia. So right away, you're already groomed for this. So you're just going to click right into it if you're still under the spell or you didn't break it yet. You start to think like 20 times before you ask them questions. They'll start to devalue you, do things like that because you don't know what to expect. Then they'll start triangulation, blame shifting, projecting. And this is where you're starting to get tested in this devalue phase. This devalue phase will then start to breadcrumb you or ghost you for a couple days. You will question them because you'll start to get inklings they're cheating on you. So you may ask them and they'll tell you, I don't cheat. I told you that already. Or they may get upset because you question them like that. Or they may call you the cheater. Whenever they project stuff onto you, they're actually telling the truth about what they're doing. Then they'll continue to breadcrumb you and triangulate you. And you'll ask them, is everything okay? Because I feel like that you're getting distant. And anytime a narcissist gets to where you're starting to feel that way, that means they're monkey branching to somebody else, to another form of supply, and it's usually another form of old supply. So they will do these things. You'll start to find that you're catering to them. You'll start to be thinking all the time about them when they're gone. And your intuition may be telling you things, but you don't want to hear it at that point. You just want to see them, make sure their life's okay, and make sure you can keep the conversation to a place to where you don't make waves with them. And that's kind of how it starts. They'll breadcrumb you, and then at some point you'll get into an argument because you know that they're cheating on you, or at least something bad enough, or you'll be doing all the work. Well, what they'll do is they'll breadcrumb you, and then you'll break up with them or they'll break up with you, whatever happens. Then what will happen is they will just, whenever you won't hear from them, and they will act and operate as if nothing, it didn't hurt them a bit. If you stay quiet, which you usually don't, you usually start to chase them. But if you don't start to chase them, they got to come back. Actually, typically, you don't start to chase them. Well, I didn't in my cases because I kind of knew that was a bad idea. So what they'll do then is they'll come back and they will continue to love bomb you. They'll act good for a little while and get you then to a place where they're doing the hot and cold with you, the breadcrumbing, they will start implementing the hot and the cold, the ups and the downs a lot more now. This is to the next level. This is where the addiction starts. And the rumination gets heavy because you don't know what you're dealing with exactly or how. You're hearing their words, but they don't seem to be matching their actions. You're catching them in these kind of lies, but they're fixing them or they'll double down on them. So you kind of want to give them benefit of the doubt, right? That's what we all said. And they'll also future fake with you, saying, "Oh, I bought us a trip for your birthday," but your birthday's not for like 6, 7 months, and they know they're not going to be there by then. Because narcissists, they run in cycles, and their cycles are typically 3 months. Once you get through with love bomb, first cycle love bomb phase, they're usually 3 to 4 months because they're so toxic. They're insatiable, and it doesn't matter how much you give them, it's not ever going to be enough at some point. But how you know you're trauma bonded is that you think they're a good person, but you know they're not. Kind of. You kind of question it because you're seeing this duality. You're walking on eggshells. A lot of times you're tolerating the abuse, and you just want a little bit of validation, a little bit of love, a little bit of acknowledgement, but you're not getting it. You're just getting heavily neglected, and they're treating you with indifference at that point. You start to look bad physically, and you're living in your head. You're always quadruple guessing everything before you go to the narcissist, and then when they leave, you wonder what they're doing, trying to understand them. You're not getting equal reciprocity. I always say is the best red flag is what you're putting in 200% of your fuel and you're getting 10% back. You're just not getting acknowledged on any level. But this is the biggest one. If you can't read red flags, you should always get the fuel that you're putting in. You should get it back, especially in the very beginning. They will phone call you and text you all the time during the beginning phases of the love bomb. They will tell you you're the best thing since sliced bread. And it'll feel great for just a few days. But in those few days, you will feel just like you're whole. Like maybe you never felt to a level to where you really actually felt whole. Well, the narcissist can make you feel that way for just a couple days, but it's a lie. And anything that seems too good to be true is always a lie or a manipulation. That's the fantasy. That's the fairy tale. But you're living in your head. These are all signs of you're trauma bonded. You start looking bad. You're giving everything and you're just getting abuse back. You're addicted to them. And it doesn't matter if it's for pain or comfort. You just want to be with them. You just want to see them because you need your next hit. You tolerate things to such a level. You have degraded your boundaries and your ethics to such a level that you're disgusted with yourself, but you still continue to do it. Everybody that you ask a question about, when you bring up, say, a situation or something where they see what you look like and how you feel when you're not with this individual, they're going to tell you to leave, to run, and you're going to still not listen to their advice at all when normally you would. They also know, and you know, even if you broke up with them, that with just a few words, with just a hello, they can get you right back. Even though you know it's destructive, it's evil, this is not a good individual for you, that everything that they've been doing is bad and horrible, you still will always take them back until you wake up. And a lot of times they come to you because they envy you. They envy you because of your self-esteem, how you care about yourself. Before you were unawoke, so this individual can throw you back into all of this anxiety, paranoia, and depression. Just heavy, evil feelings. They come to you because they envy you have identity, that you have yourself, you know yourself. I mean, for the most part, outside of understanding this type of stuff, you have your independence. So they kind of make you codependent. They don't like that you're independent, but it does draw them to you. That you live in your reality, that you have your mental health and you have happiness. They just take from you. That's all they do. They may buy you a gift during the trauma bond, but that's just to allure you in. They take all those things from you. They take your self-esteem. They take your identity. They take your independence away from you. They take your self-worth away. They take all of these good qualities that you have that make up you. They take all of your traits. They suck them from you. And they actually come to you because they're hopeless. And mine would tell me she's a hopeless romantic. I used to say things like that, but I don't anymore. Because that in itself is a fairy tale term. And they are truly hopeless romantics because they are hopeless. They're not romantic at all, but they're hopeless. They'll tell you that their time is precious, so that they may not be able to see you like they want to. They will tell you they don't cheat. Those are types of things that will happen. They'll starve you of affection and attention. They will give you nothing at some point in time during that devalue discard type phase. On that off time, you'll be anxious, depressed, you'll be paranoid, you won't know yourself, you'll be a hollow shell of a self because they stole all your fuel and they knocked you upside down and you don't know which way's up and which way's down, and they're walking around like it's the glory days, like nothing happened. So you'll start to chase them, you'll feel like you need to convince them that they have the wrong opinion of you and that you're an alpha and you need to show them. These are types of things. So you may call them a lot, or if you don't, they're going to check up on you, and these are just heat checks and ways to keep you intact while they're with their other forms of supply or whatever they're doing. And what'll happen is eventually they'll wear out that other form of supply. They always have these like one-nighters around too, but they normally have some other form of supply that they jump to that's kind of their regular, the one that takes them back all the time for anything. Sometimes it's another narcissist. They will go back to each other because usually what happens is, well, they will get to a point where they'll love bomb each other, and then they'll end up destroying the world with your energy because they just left you, and then they'll get in an argument themselves, and it can get really ruckusy. But they will destroy each other pretty much, and then they'll leave. But they keep coming back because of two things. One thing is because they never got power and control over that individual, and so they have to win. So they keep coming back, but it's inevitable. They're never gonna succeed. And then they start cheating on each other. They end up not even talking a lot of times. But if you stay with them long enough, they might just go back to you for a few months and then go back to the narcissist, for the other narcissist for a few months, and then go back to you and then back to the, and then they'll be cheating with all these other people. So this is the kind of thing they'll do. That's kind of the trauma bond cycle. And the whole time you're going to be thinking and ruminating on them. They're going to be stalking you. You might hear that somebody saw your ex that was watching you from far away, like I did, and I didn't know anything about it until they said something. I was like, what? Or you will catch them sometimes, and it's that assassin stare. They say they can x-ray you in the spiritual realm, that the parasite inside them has the ability to see your aura and everything. But they can get one glance at you and tell. They regulate themselves also based on their supply sources and how well they're doing. If they stay down and stay crappy, then they feel good and confident because they're living a better life than you, and they cause all that harm to you. And if they really need you, they'll beat you down the hardest because they want you to isolate yourself until they're ready to come back, and they want you to have a low self-esteem and not go out and get any friends around you or any new love partner. So that's some of the stuff they'll do. So they always stock supply sources in the harem, because if they're starting to do better, like recover, then they got to come back, put you down again, and suck that fuel off and spend your money, whatever, all of that stuff. And then they'll leave you again and again and again and again until you get it. But I was saying, like with the borderline, you could be with them. They're not the type to act so much like this. Typically, if you could stay married to a narcissist type, it's going to be a borderline. That's it. All the rest are going to always cheat on you, and they can only run cycles because they're so demonically possessed that they are insatiable and they have a large appetite for things. They just feel on a whole nother level than, say, the borderline. But this is how it works, and then eventually they'll come back and do the fourth part of the cycle, which is hoover you, which is to suck you back in. And then you just go in the circle to nowhere, and until you wake up and break the cycle. Learn this information, learn all the red flags. You should be able to trust again. I mean, it should be easy to spot a love partner if you study this stuff on a regular basis for a short period of time. It starts to get harder out and about with strangers and other people that you meet. Friends, frenemies, all that. So that's kind of how the trauma bond situation works. But they start stacking all of these elements of manipulative things that they're doing in your life, to where what they do is they get you to react, and they start arguments so they can get fuel off you, but also to test you. Because if you don't react with them when they're getting you to react, or typically they can get you to react, then they know you're probably going to leave them soon. So this is part of the reason why they do this. They do this to test you. It's to find out where they are with you in the relationship. if you're going to stick around a little longer. Then they'll give you the carrot and then the stick, beat you with it. And that's the breadcrumbing. And even when they're away from you, they will call and check up on you, try to talk with you here and there, sprinkled about, to breadcrumb you into thinking that you might have something with them. And then eventually they're going to come back. They'll do the holiday hoovers. They'll call you on your birthday. They'll be the first to call you on your birthday and wish you happy birthday when you're not happy because you're not with them and you got to be with them. You want to be with them. That's all you can think about. But then it's just stupid. But it takes, for me, you know, it took me a while to get over this rumination. It took me probably a year and a half or so. But, and I worked hard at it. So you just gotta, you know, kind of just do each day and try to keep everything together, because it's very traumatic. It's very traumatic. And things will, I mean, the biggest thing is that you wake up to this, and then if you can understand that this is a spiritual situation, it becomes a personality disorder or whatever, but it's not only that. This is a spiritual situation. And when you understand that, you should have an easier time disengaging with them and knowing how they operate by the things we talk about. So if you can give me a like, subscription, and thumbs up, I love y'all. Till next time. Peace.